thing to get that going. Hey, we are live, and it is April 15th, and we're here with my man Zach Rivera over on my right, your left. Camera's messing you up.
My right.
There you go. So a little bit about Zach. Zach and I worked together for a number of years, and what can I say about Zach except that like he's got this personality that is absolutely magnetic. He's got this character about him that is unwavering, and I just don't have enough nice things to say about him. He showed up, and I was supposed to be the big boss, whatever, but I think I learned more from him than he ever did from me, and just great person to have on your team. So I asked him to jump on, if he wanted to jump on and share a little bit of insight on, his life. He's had a pretty successful life, and I think he has, and share some of his insider notes with you. And he was more than willing. So I guess that's about as good as I'm going to do, Zach. So without further ado, take it.
Way to build me up there, Pat. And then I tell my story, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, dude, he's just another guy." But no, that's a fair point. I actually a lot of fond memories working together early on. But I guess a nice place to start would be in the beginning. So, like most people in the our age, we faced a roadblock, and it was or a fork in the road. Join the army or go to college. And I was like, okay, I was at a pretty wild time in my life. I was like, I'm not ready for college. Some bad things are going to happen if you send me away to college. I got to go be a man or something like that. So I joined the army, and actually, I tried to join the Coast Guard first, and they wouldn't take me because they were very strict. So I walked right across the street and I joined the army. And so I'm going to teach that Coast Guard guy a lesson, and turns out I taught myself a lesson, and I joined the army extremely fast without thinking it through as my career choice. Ended up being a mechanic because I like to do things, mechanically with my hands. Did not enjoy doing that for the army, so decided to pivot and figure out a way to better my life. So I tossed my hat in the ring the first time trying to become a Green Beret. July and North Carolina, it doesn't matter what kind of mindset you have, it's gonna kick your butt, right? Hotter than the Middle East. But so I failed the first time. I had to go away on another deployment, came back exactly 1 year later to another July selection date, made it. That's a story in of itself. Went to the Q course, ended up breaking half my face in the Q course, civilian accident. 9 months later, broke my jaw. Another civilian accident. So motorcycles are dangerous, and a smart mouth is dangerous too. So both good lessons in the mindset world. Then I moved on, went to fifth group, showed up, thought I was, Mr. Awesome. First day, right before I met you, walk in, and the old Smagosaurus Rex walks up to me and says, horrible sideburns, trim them before I knock them off of you. And I was like, oh man, okay, all right. I got free fall school, leaving the Q course too. And he looked at my chest and he said, oh, free fall school, you must think you're awesome. Well, you're not going to be awesome around here. You're not going to a free fall team. That's for senior people. It's like, wow, all right, great experience. Then I walk in, and you know how the team room was there. So I'll leave that at that. And fun times, you, Herb, some other people, great times. Great times being scared, reading the SOP book for weeks. Anyway, move on. Spent almost 7 years on that team, and then exited and jumped into a job right off the bat. Blindly jumped into that one. Great learning experience, though. Horrible pay. Great learning experience. Taught me a lot. Brought on some coaches, some executive coaches, some sales coaches, and reached out and started this network. Unfortunately, I was able to start like 2 years before that with building up with the transition with different nonprofits. So the Honor Foundation, Elite Meet, Military Talent Partners, all of them. I think I went through like 5 different ones, including Deloitte and their core leadership program. Anyway, fast forward into being miserable, working from home. Going from our career where we were gone, work, always changing, to pumping the brakes. Now you're at home, you're working from home, and you're just looking outside all day. It was a great opportunity for a lot of people, not a great opportunity for me. So I had to go back in and look at my purpose. Reached out to some coaches, did some things, looked at entrepreneurship, and the good Lord did not let that entrepreneurship one come to fruition. Thank God. That's a story in itself too, about knowing who you're working with. But anyway, pivoted, and a fantastic relationship I built over 2 years helped me get an interview with the company and critical infrastructure, natural gas, energy. So here I am looking at my dream job, starting that back up. So I'm the operations manager of quality assurance for Nicor Gas, and back out in Mother Nature, right? Back out into leading small teams, back out into something critical, kind of like what our job was, right? That critical mindset, always changing, different little environments, different people, interacting with different stakeholders, all those things that I missed, I found my way back to it. So check back in a few years, and I'll let you know how that career is progressing. But yeah, there was a roller coaster of parts of the mindset that, highs and lows, and just chaos a lot of times. Thank God I have just this phenomenal wife who was able to, kind of be my soundboard and help me out. And then you throw, COVID on top of it, where everyone's, stuck in the house. Then you throw Northern Illinois winter, but you grew up in Montana, so you know a thing or two about winters. So, the snow came, it never left. And man, that was horrible. That was horrible. So anyway, that's just a little bit about me and where I am right now. I'll pause there and let you think for a second, Pat. Is there anything that sparked your curiosity? What do you want to talk about?
So I'm going to ask this question, then I got to go catch my dog that just escaped. So you had to go through you went through selection twice.
Yeah.
It's bad enough going through it once.
Yeah.
So oftentimes when I talk with people, it's like, well, you just got to do this for a week. And they're like, oh my God, I got to do this for a week or 2 weeks, whatever. And it's like, to people who haven't experienced what we experienced, it's mind-boggling to be able to do something so uncomfortable for 7 days at least, right? Whether it be, in the entrepreneurial world, jumping on the Facebook and talking to people that you normally wouldn't talk to. Excuse me.
He's getting away from you. Get him.
Sorry about that. So stepping outside the comfort zone. So what were some things that, like, I knew what got me through selection, because mine was, I was done. I was fed up, and there was no way in hell I was going back. And also, there towards the end, if I wasn't getting selected, I was at least going to be standing at the end, because it got to the point where I'm like, what the hell am I doing? So what was going through your head, because you did it twice, and then you did it after the accidents and everything. So what was going through your mind that helped you persevere? Because I'm just leave it at that. I'm gonna go catch my dog.
Yeah, go catch it. There's a pattern, right? I see a pattern in my life, from the first time selection, failing, waiting an entire year to go back, and training for an entire year, going back, and then meeting two big barriers in the Q course of catastrophic injuries, right? Where, could have almost been life ending, one of them. So, another pattern tied into the same one. And then, the exiting of the military and all of those difficulties. So when I think about it, what pushed me, what motivated me, where was my mindset at? Oh, there's the Bobby. So it boils down to, I guess, 2 words, and that's no quit, right? And that's I hate saying it too. I really hate's a strong word, but I dislike it, because when I was training for selection, everyone's like, well, just don't quit. Just don't quit, Zach. You gotta just not quit. I'm like, okay. So I went for the first time with very little training, and I just didn't quit. Turns out that wasn't enough, right? Just not quitting wasn't enough. So you had to actually take that no quit mentality and you had to fight through. And what motivated me with my mind was showing everybody that I am capable of accomplishing these things, right? Whether it was sales goals of 2020 or landing this new job or surviving selection a second time, right? Not to mention doing that with a year-long break with a deployment in the middle, right? That's a long time to keep a mindset that requires a lot of dedication. So I went back and, I went through a little emotional roller coaster, where it goes all the way down. You go through denial and anger and frustration. You come all the way up on the end with acceptance. So I went through that, and I went through it rather quickly. And no quit stuck out in my head, right? But in a different context that had to be paired with the desire, for me personally, right? The desire to show everybody else that I can do it. Well, there were guys that would go, and you'd see it happen, right? They would quit, and they're fantastic people, right? The people that would go do this, right? The 300 people would usually go to a class. That is the best 300 people in the military. More often than not, the best 300 people in the Army. More often, sometimes there's some Dodgers there that wanted to get out of like North Korea or something, but there's some stellar performers there that go to soft selection. Now they fail. Well, what do? They quit everything. They quit everything. They don't want to just not try it again. They completely back up and they exit the military. They walk as far away from the Army as possible. And then they do some silly job and they're not happy with it 10 years down the road. And they regret everything. And everything's focused around, well, I almost went this one time or I almost made it. Right. But you quit. You gave up. Same with entrepreneurship, right? I pushed through that entire business plan proposal, the entire everything. It took me a year and a half to do licensing, to find locations, to do studies, to talk with people, to do tests, to sit in front of countless interviews. And then right at the 1 yard line, everything falls apart. Like, so, you got to have that mindset no matter what it is, even if it's okay, I want to learn this new hobby. I'm not going to quit at it. So I started building this, I started building my basement that I'm in right now. COVID struck, I'm home alone, or not home alone, I got the family with me, but I'm home for once. Like, what am I going to do? All right, well, I'm going to go buy 2 pallets of lumber and some drywall, and I'm going to finish my entire basement, like 1,400 square feet. So I finished the whole thing, right? Obviously, I had some professionals come in and epoxy the floor and some people do some spray foam, but everything else was Zach. And man, was that crazy, because as you know, in our job, right, we were engineers, but you don't get to practice American engineering, plumbing, carpentry, and you're not working with high quality lumber. You're not working with American electricity. You're not working with standards that we have here. So going through that entire process for a year, every single day, requires that dedication to just not only not quit, but prove where you are. So that's that pattern that I keep repeating. And even in my interviews, when someone's like, hey, Zach, what's your strength? I was like, well, my strength is not quitting, but it's mixed with extreme determination. And now my determination is extremely selfish, because I am bound and determined to prove people one way or another. Some people, they're not, theirs isn't as selfish, right? Yeah, I'm too dumb to give up. Well, I was too stubborn not to give up, right? That's not, I was smart enough to know, okay, I should probably give up. But I was just too stubborn, and come hell or high water, I was going to fight through it all the way to the end, tooth and nail. But yeah, that's, I think you caught your dog, so I'll let the answer rest.
Oh, that's a lot to unpackage. So, yeah, I mean, the things that we had to go through weren't fun by any means.
Well, when you think back about it, they're almost funny at times.
You're like, oh yeah, that was cool. That was cool. Like SEER school, like, oh, it was the greatest school I ever went to. Like, would you do it again? No. Not in the least bit.
No.
I mean, if we can take out the starving part, then maybe.
Yeah.
But golly. So, like you said, you also get these people, and I think in from what I've experienced in life, running a charity, and then with my entrepreneurial journey, you absolutely uh, run into these people that are like all stars, right?
Yep.
They just seem like they have it all together, and they're like instant successes and whatever. But at the first time of adversity, they crumble.
Yeah.
And so I think it takes a special person, and I think everybody's capable of it, but it's just your mindset. Like, I think like you said, you were determined to show people that you could do it. For me, I've come to the terms that I did everything I did to validate my existence because of, things, but
Right.
It was important for me to feel like I was at the top and better than everybody else, even though I knew I wasn't, but it was important for me to feel like I was, because it made me feel like I earned my place in the world. And so that's what drove me. And then I saw, especially when I became an instructor at the Q course, the students going through the phases, you get these students that are like, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit. And they recycle, and I retrain them or whatever. I work with them tirelessly. I mentor them. I coach them and stuff. And then they go back out to training, and I'm picking them up a week later going like, well, my wife, blah, 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 and making up. It's like, why did you just waste my time?
Yeah.
Why'd you waste my time?
You have to be prepared to sacrifice it, whatever it takes, right? You got to look at what that sacrifice is to make it. Sorry to cut you off, but people go, they have this goal in mind, whether it was college. Listen, college, right? We both did college in the Army. It was free. Why not do it, right? But people look at that and they say, well, I don't want to do that because of the wife, the family, my time off, my hobbies, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, are you willing to sacrifice some things for the greater good? And if the answer is no, then you're always going to come up with that excuse to step away from it. You have, and I've had that conversation with people like, okay, you're like, a friend of mine's getting ready to go in the selection. He's 32 years old, and financial planner, great guy. You know what? He's just tired of the life that he's living right now. And he's like, I want to go do this thing. So he's gonna uproot his entire life and his family and go do this. And his wife supports him. Like, hey man, you got to understand all of the sacrifices you're going to make. And if you're not willing to make those sacrifices for this goal, don't even enter the arena.
Yeah. And that's where I was kind of what I was getting to the point when I pick up the students at the end of SUT, right? Small unit tactics, the field portion, for those who don't know, you'd get your people who are getting kicked out. You get those people who are getting recycled, then you get those people who are moving on. Well, if people are moving on, it's like, okay, you, bam, bam, bam. You break them up like, okay, see you Monday, and then you have the recycles. You're like, hey, we got training to do. Be here Monday, 9 o'clock, whatever, full canteen and a rucksack. We're going to go train, but then the people who were reliefs, I would tell them it's what you do at this point now that defines who you are. Defines the person you are. You didn't make it this time. Are you just you're gonna go home and that's it? You're not gonna try again, or are you gonna come back? Or are you gonna fix your stuff and come back? I understand that some of them couldn't come back, but for those who had the option, I encourage them, like, come back. If this is what you want, come try again. Who cares, right? But you brought up something with your financial planner. I actually had it in my notes, but I was listening to something today talking about gifts, right? Because I'm a big advocate of leveraging people's gifts, right? And I think we all are as Green Berets, whatever. But my thing is that I understand that, one, I can't do everything, but I know that what I have is unique, whatever that may be. And well, I'll say it like this: a painter doesn't paint a picture and then throw it in a closet, right? A musician doesn't write a song for no one to ever hear. The whole purpose of gifts and talents and what makes you spark is to share with other people, whether that's entrepreneurship, whether that's coaching, whether that's singing. Steve Harvey says, if that's even frying chicken, like go make chicken. And sorry, Gary's coming up with the comments, throwing me off my game. If you don't feel happy when you wake up in the morning to go to your job, to your place of business, if you're not feeling happy, the whole thing is that you're not living in your blessing, you're not living in your gift, and that's going to mess with your head. Because then you're gonna feel inadequate. You're gonna feel inferior. You're gonna feel, and it sounds in what I alluded to with your yep, right there. And what I alluded to is that, like what it says here, that growth mindset, being willing to persevere. When you're in a rut, you're in a place that you don't like, you try to find that shiny object. And because, that's going to make me happy. Well, is it? Like you said, like, you're going to go to selection. That's awesome. Have you ever been tortured?
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And have you ever lived the life to where you pull up in a McDonald's and your wife tells you to just grab the usual and you're like, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
I have. That's a terrible feeling. Just grab the usual. So is that like chicken nuggets? I don't know what that is. Like, what do you like to drink? You like Coke?
One of everything.
Well, come on now. I'm working on it.
Oh yeah.
I get it though. And so it messes with you because because you chase those shiny objects because you think it's what you have to do. Mm-hmm. If you're not happy with this, you have to go towards the next thing that you think is going to make you happy, rather than just going back to what makes you shine. And I think for people like you and me, we thrived in the environment that we operated in because that's who we are, right? That's what made us click, and it became our identity, right? And I know you know where I'm going with this, but but it became our identity, and so when we left the military, or we leave our financial planning job, or we leave our entrepreneurial position, whatever, that identity dies because that role dies. But because we didn't delineate between the two, we feel worthless and we feel like quitting, and we don't have that willingness to persevere anymore. So could you go over the IR theory briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. And I dove into this hard last year, because I was struggling. I was struggling when I got out. Exactly what you said, right? Identity, role, blended together. We had to do it. That's what we were. Everyone in our situation does it. So when you separate, my identity was gone. I had to find my new identity. So I started this job. Okay, my identity is going to be this job, but that can't be my role, right? My role is going to have to be father, husband, carpenter, whatever it is at that time, where I can find success in it. I can control those things without my identity being shaken. So like when I had a bad day of sales, because let's be honest here for a second. I got into sales when COVID started. Not that that's an excuse, because millions of people did it. Also, millions of people got laid off. Probably not millions. That's probably an exaggeration, but it was extremely hard. I made, I think, 900 phone calls one time before I got a single desire to have a follow-on conversation. 900 phone calls is a long time to go of being told no, or to pound sand, or whatever colorful language they wanted to use. That's a lot to take on. So if your identity is tied in, if your role and your identity are tied in like that, you're being pounded down every single day, and you're not happy. And then whatever your role is, right, your other role, you go home and you put that garbage on everybody else. You don't feel successful as a husband, a father, a wife, a sister, brother, son, daughter, basketball player, bow fishing champion. It doesn't matter, right? Because it's not going to be successful. You're going to feel not successful. So when you separate them like I did, and you work on building them up, right, and you measure them and you say, okay, I am a 7 at being a father. What can I do to take myself up to a 9? And you work on that and you build yourself up. But there's a constant reassessment and assessment to figure out where I play with fidgets. My daughter gave me this thing, so it's got a little marble ball in there, so I'm always playing with it. Anyway, I told her I'd do it. And you work on that. You assess yourself. You see where you're at. You work on it. You build it up. So you keep building up that role, and your identity. Or I've probably been saying it backwards this entire time, but you build that up. Probably switch the two, identity and role. but you build that up, and you're going to be feeling okay. And eventually, you'll carry that success from one into the other. So if you're very successful with your other bucket of life, father, son, wife, mother, whatever it is, and it's time to go do that thing that you're struggling at. If you take that success, you take that positive attitude, and you take that mentality, and you pull it over, you're going to be successful there, because that passion is going to follow, that joy is going to follow, that whole mindset's going to follow, and eventually it will pull it up. Anyway, hopefully that made sense. I think I did switch them though.
Can you read that?
Zach.
He told me that a few weeks ago, and I never put two and two together. And I thought that was I thought it was like the greatest thing ever. I never realized that. So, greatest sales book ever written by Dr. Seuss. Yeah, he who shall not be named.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary.
So okay.
Yeah.
Getting towards the closing. One of the things I want to talk about. Yesterday, I briefly bumbled through a video about the people that you come in contact with throughout your life. You know, you hear like some people are here for a reason, some people are here for a season, right? But I talked about, you know, you got your constituents, you have your confidants, and you have your comrades, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't want to get too much into it, but I just want to hear your thoughts based off of people that you've interacted with, and, you know, more specifically, like starting like, you know, the team room environment that you hinted at, as it shifted into what it became, and then how it kind of like formed you. You know what I'm saying? Like how it influenced you as a person, as a whole, with the people that you interacted with. And if you could categorize, I guess if you can categorize them similarly, how would you categorize them? Or is that too big of a question?
That was big. Let me just clarify, switch the identity in the role, because I did have it backwards. But let's see here. You said Commandant, Confidant,
Nosferatu. So you have your confidants. Those are the people.
Oh, yeah. Confidants. Okay.
Yeah.
And who else?
Constituents. And then you have comrades. And basically,
write it down. I forget it.
And basically, what it means is like your confidants. Those are the ones, just as it sounds, those are the people that you lean on. You know, when those are the people you pull up in their driveway and say, "Get in, we're doing hood rat stuff," and they're like, "Okay," and they hop in, right?
I need a shovel and
don't ask questions. Those are your confidants, and then your constituents. Those are they only support you because your ideologies are in line with each other, right? But as soon as you shift gears, they're gone. And then you have the comrades, who aren't your friends, but you guys are going towards a common goal, so they'll support you just because it benefits them.
Yep.
So,
man, that sounds like everybody you came across in the military.
Yeah.
So how do I take that from the team room and what we applied over there into real life? And I got to do it quickly because we're running out of time. So, you know, with the confidants, looking at that, we separated. You know, the hardest thing I got was that phone call one day, and they're like, "Zach, don't come in the team room anymore. You're done here. Go focus on yourself." That was a hard thing. So I lost all my confidants in that moment right there. They had all gone away. Now there's a couple that left before me that I could call upon, but it was that you built such a relationship with those people that now they're saying don't come in anymore. It doesn't matter if you try to pursue that relationship; it's gone. So I had to recreate that. Fortunately, me and you are still talking years later. Anyway, sure, okay. But come on, Pat, gotta have some fun. But like-minded, not like background, is what I fell on. So I went out there and I had conversations upon conversations of people, and I wanted to surround myself with like-minded people, and just took time to have conversations with them and start that, built up that trust. And, there's still some pre-existing ones from my background, my time in, but, you're as strong as the 5 people you surround yourself by, right? That has I mean, that holds true. And the people that you keep in that very close circle, they should be greater than you people, and it helps you. And then the same, constituents that are out there, I only support you because your ideas. I encounter them a lot, especially because I was in the world of sales. That was a hard one. Just realizing what it is, and moving forward, and maybe with enough time, enough common ground, enough rapport, enough trust, you can become confidants, and then comrades going towards the same goal. Man, a lot of people out there are some shady people, and they're going to pretend to be something else in the higher category, even though they're really not, just to get that extra little trust and push out of you. It's it's a tough one, man. You're not going to find as close of a knit circle like you had in the previous life, at least for us, right? But looking forward in the civilian life, that stuff takes time. It takes time to build, and I just keep pushing forward and leaving behind people that aren't interested in pursuing a quality relationship with me. You're gone. It's all right, fine. I don't got time for that. I want to surround myself with those people that I know I can call upon and say, hey, let's go. And they're gonna be like, yeah, Zach, all right, dude, let's go. Not even gonna ask questions. You called me. It's like, Zach, let's go. So right on, Pat. I'm here, man. Let's go. Let's do it. I'm in it. I gave you a little hard time in the beginning because that's what we do because we love each other. But it's like-minded people. Just got to keep going forward together, and eventually we keep finding more of us.
Yeah, and I think that's incredibly important. And one thing that I brushed up on yesterday, that you need to know who you're dealing with, and if they're not for you, they're against you. Not saying like you have to be so super cynical with everybody, but if you go into a room, if you walked into the team room and you're like, hey, let's go, and people are like, and they ignore you, and they're like, well, you're obviously not for me. Yeah. And that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay. Yeah. And I think that's where people get bent out of shape about is like, that's okay that people aren't for you. Just move on. Just move on. Yeah. And then when you find
you're going to encounter a lot of those. A lot of them are going to have way more, 100, 1,000 for every one.
Especially when you're in sales.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That was horrible.
You're gonna do it every day, but you find those people and you hold on to them, and you want to go to the moon. You want them to come with you, but even if they don't, they're your cheerleading squad,
Well, that reminds me of this thing when I was doing the sales thing, and even it applies to everyday life, right? The whole comrades thing, even less than. You call them, they tear you down. Don't let it affect you. Okay, whatever. Toss it aside. Call them back. Say, hey, we got disconnected. I mean, what's it? That's where that whole identity and role success really comes into play. But you have to not take those things personally when they're not going forward with you, when they're not for you. Okay, just recognize it like you're saying and move on. It's life, and don't let that weight tear you down, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know you got places to be, so we'll just go ahead and wrap it up. You have any closing statements?
You got me all fired up. I'm gonna go upstairs and play with the kids real quick before I go. But no, I think I don't think of myself as anything special. I got a decent haircut, and I'm fun to hang around sometimes. But I'm just a guy that was too stubborn and too motivated to quit for selfish reasons, and I've made it into some great places. So just unlock that potential in you. Put a smile on your freaking face and go have fun with life. Safely. Have fun with life.
Safely. All right, Zach. Well, we appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Patrick.
We'll do this again.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Go have fun with your kids.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'll see you, buddy.
Good night.